and information aimed at improving their operation. Join me, Chip Flory, weekdays at 10:06 on Central Illinois Ag Station, WHOW.
From the Hart Media Group newsroom and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this expanded morning newscast. Good morning and thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Ben Hubbard. The news is brought to you by Bob Chevy Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, as well as Connexus, offering fiber internet in Clinton. Click the icon on DeWittDailyNews.com to find out more. Clinton Police Chief Ben Lowers and Lincoln Police Chief Joe Meister participated in a roundtable earlier this week to promote the benefits of an outreach program for people battling substance abuse. On the WHOW Morning Show Thursday, Chief Meister told the Hart Media Group he and Chief Lowers were hoping to promote the benefits of the Deflection program with area law enforcement officials and agencies.
Yesterday, we held the Bridge. It's the Deflection initiative that is covering our area over by Lincoln, the Bridge Law Enforcement Summit. So brought in partners that are covered in that Tri-County area, Logan, Mason, Menard, and Chief Lowers and I sat on a discussion panel to help spread the news about those initiatives that are growing across the state, how they've worked well for us, and to hopefully gain the support of other law enforcement in that area.
Chief Meister reminds the Deflection program is aimed at getting people battling addiction connected to a deflection specialist who has real-world experience with addiction. He says that support can take on many forms.
Deflection programs, again, have been growing all across the state and nationally. It's a law enforcement-led initiative to get somebody to resources they may need prior to their involvement in the criminal justice system. So you're looking at folks that may have an addiction, folks that are suffering from homelessness or mental health issues, or any of the three combined. Law enforcement has a lot of contacts with folks like that, and we want to leverage those contacts in order to get them connected with deflection specialists. So these are folks that go out, they assist the person in need with what kind of resources they require to improve their situation.
According to the chief, many who are in the middle of a battle with addiction have either a fear or apprehension towards law enforcement. A deflection specialist has lived experience with addiction and is better able to connect with those individuals.
So you're looking at folks that are in long-term recovery from addiction and have seen the darker side of things and been able to pull themselves out of that situation. So when they go out, they have more understanding of a person in a struggling situation than what law enforcement may have. Take maybe a person who's in active addiction. Oftentimes they're fearful of law enforcement. History shows that what normally happens when they have contact with law enforcement is negative, at least in their eyes. Right? They end up in jail. They go through the court system, things like that. Whereas there's no threat of that. A deflection specialist, they meet them on their level. The specialists do. So you take away the stigma between addiction, people in addiction, and law enforcement.
Chief Meister has seen the effectiveness of this program and believes it has been a great partnership for Lincoln.
This program works. It's been working here in Clinton too. I heard Chief Lowers talk about it yesterday. I know it works because I've seen successes. I've seen people that were absolutely in dregs, if you want to call it that, and have turned their lives around in a matter of months. Come out of treatment, got a job, found a house, things like that. Whereas a few months ago, they're living in a dumpster confinement area and using drugs and stealing to support their habit.
The program is funded through the state of Illinois. An annual event is taking flight this weekend in Lincoln, giving the city an opportunity to show off its newest tourism efforts. Lincoln Mayor Tracy Welch explains that weather permitting, Balloons Over 66 will bring 19 hot air balloons to the Open Arms Church campus this Thursday through Sunday. He notes there is an app that can be used to track when launches will take place, now featuring a virtual assistant.
We've been putting a lot of hard work into it, and a lot of organizations in town are participating this year, introducing the Rails. That's joining us to partner up. But you got the Oasis and Up and Smoke Barbecue and the art show, the Art Institute. I mean, there's just a number of participants. We're doing it at Open Arms again this year. There's 19 balloons scheduled to be there from various locations, a full week of flying. We've got scheduled from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday. So plenty of opportunity to see balloons, knock on wood, if the weather holds out. Yeah, there's going to be a media flight Thursday evening. So probably about 5 or 6 in the evening. And then Saturday morning, there's going to be a flight into Open Arms. And then there'll be flights out Friday night. And so the whole schedule is out there online. If you go to the Facebook page or you just go to balloonsover66.com, there's a nice little app. It'll direct you to the Facebook page. One of the new things we introduced this year was a virtual assistant. And it's been pretty traditional that during the event, people are asking a lot of questions about where things are going and what they can do. And there's only a couple people that can monitor that page throughout the weekend because they're super busy. So we put a virtual assistant in place now that's got a pretty robust database of everything. So you can ask it questions. It'll give you all the information you need. And then we can step in if it's not giving you exactly what you need.
In downtown Lincoln will be the annual Up and Smoke barbecue competition, as well as family-friendly activities like the art show and dogs jumping competition. The city also recently opened the Museum of Route 66, which the mayor says will also be open.
Yeah, the KCBS sanctioned Up and Smoke on the Square. That event has happened for years, and it will again happen this year. So they take up most of the downtown area. There's going to be things for kids to do. You mentioned dogs. If you don't know what dogs is, it's a dog jumping competition where they bring a big pool downtown and set it up over the weekend. And there are professional jumpers, and as amateurs, you can take your pet and sign them up and see how well they do at jumping as well. There's the art show happening downtown. The new Museum of Route 66, we're going to have it opened during that time period. And then all of the businesses that are participating that are on the square, there's going to be something for someone downtown.
The Abraham Lincoln National Rail Splitting Festival, also known as Rail Splitter Fest, is being moved to coincide with Balloons Over 66. The mayor says organizers hope to bring awareness to and revitalize the event with the extra traffic that will be in town.
No, usually that thing happens in, I want to say September, and it's been its own independent event, but I think it's going through some changes, and the board members wanted to change it up and say, hey, if we shift it to the weekend of balloons, maybe we can get more people in here to learn more about this event. And so I think it's an opportunity to try to revive the event, save it, make sure it's around for years to come. And also it gives people something else to do during the day when balloons aren't flying and they're not doing barbecue. It gives people just another option to explore. If you've never gone to the Rail Splitter Festival, it's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
The log splitting's cool. You can take kind of a step back in time and see how things used to be done many years ago. And I help out with that board every now and then on their website and stuff. Really cool, hardworking people that I think probably deserve a visit from you as well.
Yeah, for sure.
It takes place right on the Postville property on Fifth Street. And so, that's a historic building as well. And so I think it's a great backdrop for a great event. And then the VFW is going to be doing some stuff across the street. They always partner with Rail Splitter. So food options, vendors, things like that.
Balloons Over 66 takes place in Lincoln this Thursday through Sunday, while Rail Splitter Fest happens on Saturday and Sunday. Learn more by finding Balloons Over 66 Weekend on Facebook. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. Let's take a quick break with a word from our sponsors.
Baum Chevrolet Buick offers full transportation options while giving you peace of mind. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. This is what we do every day. We listen to you, give you options for routine maintenance, major mechanical problems, or collision repairs with a staff that's knowledgeable to find the best option for you. Baum Chevrolet Buick, your full-service dealer. See us at baumchevybuick.com right from the start.
In the communities we call home, connection means something more. That's why Connexus Fiber Internet combines the strength of a locally owned network with support from people who call this community home. The internet that powers your day should be built with the same care as the community around you. Connexus provides the speed you want, reliability you need, and the service you expect from neighbors who live here too. Luxury speed, hometown heart. Nothing connects us like Connexus.
News time is 21 minutes after the top of the hour. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. Producers are likely starting to think about giving their combines and tractors a good once-over as the fall harvest approaches in the next 5 to 7 weeks. Reagan Tibbs is a commercial ag educator at the University of Illinois Extension in Logan, Menard, and Sangamon counties, and says an extremely wet August provided some very beneficial moisture for a lot of the state.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We got a lot of beneficial rain here in the early part of August. I remember a lot of beneficial rains throughout most of central Illinois that's kind of warded off those drought conditions. So we're really good. We're in really good shape heading into harvest. So according to the National Weather Office there in Lincoln got already for the month of August has 4.3 inches of rain. Normally in August, we have 2.5. So we're definitely kind of well ahead the curve in that. And again, I think it set us up for a very, very nice end of fall, moving into harvest, getting those crops primed and ready for the end of their growing season. Absolutely. I mean, I remember talking to folks down there at State Fair from the Champaign area that said they got more than 10 inches of rain over those first couple of days. And so, yeah, I mean, obviously, I think, from a broad perspective, 10 inches of rain is quite a lot, and having it all within a 48-hour period is certainly way too much. And there are a lot of those flooding conditions. Excuse me. But for the most part, across much of other parts of central Illinois, definitely having those couple inches put us in a very good position here towards the end of fall.
Tibbs indicates crop conditions are varying across the state, and there are several factors playing into that. While weather is certainly one, he points to various disease pressure issues depending on where you're at.
Yeah, I think crop conditions are varying a little bit across the state. And we have a system within Extension where we submit weekly crop reports that get shared out through a couple of different channels, through Farm Doc and also through Crop Watch through the Illinois Soybean Association. And so every time those come out on Fridays, I always like to read some of those and see what some of my other colleagues across the state are seeing. And I think one common theme that we're seeing, not just from our crop reports, but also from some of these harvest tours, yield tours that are going on across the state, is that we're seeing some of these tip back issues, particularly in corn. So what that means is kind of the first couple inches of the ear of corn, we're seeing corn kernels that haven't fully developed. And there's a few reasons for that. And you're always going to have some type of tip back every year. That's due to some pollination issues. So whether it's too hot during pollination or just the conditions weren't ideal for the germination process to begin during that process, or, kind of just overall just dry conditions, the kernel, or the ear actually, prioritize those kernels that were closer to the stalk where it's easier for them to get water, and then just kind of sacrifice those kernels at the very, very tip of the ear. So we're seeing those conditions.
According to Tibbs, tar spot has been a major concern in recent growing cycles. However, he points out it has not been as prevalent this growing season.
Again, that's something we see every year to a degree. You're always going to find those types of issues no matter where you're at in the state, whether in the far northern part of the state, far southern part of the state, even across here in central Illinois. We're also seeing some crop diseases coming out. I know a couple of my colleagues had sent some information into the plant clinic earlier last week where they were asking kind of what's everybody else seeing, particularly with some issues like southern rust is the one that we're seeing back this year. Gray leaf spot is another issue we're seeing in corn. Not as much tar spot this year in corn, which is interesting that the last couple of years, I know when you and I have had conversations, and even last year during Farm Progress Show, tar spot has been a major concern and major discussion amongst corn producers here in Illinois. But this year we really haven't seen that much tar spot. Not sure why we're seeing that. I know we're kind of having some discussions internally about, what sort of conditions have changed versus the last couple of years versus this year. We're not seeing as much tar spot. Our producers changing their practices with fungicide applications that are giving it a good barrier against tar spot infestations. And then on the soybean side too, we also got to talk about red crown rot. We're seeing a lot of red crown rot across, not just here in Illinois, but across the Midwest this year. And so again, that's another factor for producers to consider as they're planning ahead for the 2027 crop year.
While parts of the summer have felt oppressively hot and muggy, Tibbs points out it hasn't been as hot as seasonal diseases need to impact crops. Illinois state climatologist Trent Ford continues to add up tornadoes in 2026, and the numbers keep climbing. 15 have occurred in August, pushing the state over the 200 mark, which shatters the previous state record of 142 set in 2024. Ford is in the process of putting together a 2026 timeline. The first outbreak occurred in February.
Mid-February, we had a tornado outbreak of about 14 tornadoes that strewn across southeast Illinois from Effingham County over to the Indiana border. So of course, tornadoes in February aren't unforeseen, but they're not necessarily something we see common, especially tornado outbreaks.
Illinois is not considered in Tornado Alley, but each of the last 4 years, the state has recorded over 100 tornadoes. Every county in Illinois now has public transit. The final county receiving the service, Henderson County in west central Illinois, is offered by Western Community Public Transportation and Morgan Lewis. She says it's about meeting a need.
We've had so many people that when they call, they can't believe what we kind of have to sit there and they're like, so you take us here and you'll come pick us up here. And a wheelchair isn't a hindrance. I've had one person that called, and when we explained to her we could get her to her medical appointment for cancer treatment. And she's like, I don't have to make my daughter continually take off work. She's like, you gave me my life back. And I said, that's what we're here for. We want to continue helping our community. And I said, I have an amazing team here at WCPT that truly care about our passengers, and we want to help them. So it always feels really good when we hear a story that we are successfully helping someone continue to get out to where they need to go. It really feels good. Well, I believe we're definitely meeting a need. And I'm very lucky in all three of the communities I serve. We have community resource meetings where you have all these hardworking agencies that help the communities. And I said, I have yet to have a meeting where I didn't go to and hear at least one more need, that there's a hole that we need to fill. And I'm instantly turning around. I'm like, how can we help this? How can we do this? And again, I've been doing this for 3 years with us bringing it in-house, and I have yet to have one meeting where I walked away without one new additional help that we're giving to the community. So, and I hope that we can continue to help and find ways to help our community, because it's something we're really passionate about here.
Western Community Public Transportation also provides on-demand service to Mercer and Warren counties. Recent resumption of live cattle crossing from Mexico to the U.S. comes as a series of protocols are in place to keep New World screwworm out of our nation. Get news anytime from your computer or mobile device at DeWittDailyNews.com.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. Crews struggling to rescue survivors along the Nepal-Tibet border are warned to remain on the alert for the possibility of more flooding. Catastrophic flooding claimed almost 540 lives, close to 1,000 people still unaccounted for. A federal judge has temporarily paused President Trump's effort to standardize how states handle mail-in ballots, setting up another legal battle before the midterm elections. President Trump says it's clear the U.S. has the upper hand in the disputed Strait of Hormuz. The Trump team reportedly close to clinching a massive oil deal with Venezuela. Axios reports it would involve access to Venezuelan oil fields that boast 90 billion barrels of proven oil reserves. On Wall Street, the Dow is up about 10 points, while the Nasdaq is down 64. The S&P is off a fraction. More details, srnnews.com.
I'm not one to say I told you so, but I switched to Pure Talk over a year ago, and ever since, I've been telling people there's no better wireless company out there. Well, a few months ago, a massive survey was conducted. 123,000 people were asked to rate their wireless carrier in 4 categories: coverage, support, data, and overall value. Well, the results are in. Guess which wireless company was the only wireless company to get 5 stars in every category? Yeah, Pure Talk. 5 stars, every category. To celebrate, Pure Talk is offering the first 3 months of any plan for just $15 a month, including their top-tier unlimited plan. No contract, no commitment, just a very inexpensive way to test drive the only American wireless company with 5 stars in every category. Just dial pound 250, say micro, and Pure Talk's U.S. customer service will take it from there. Again, pound 250 micro. And yes, I told you so.
From the Hart Media Group Sports Desk, IL Sports Wire, and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this local sports report. The Clinton Maroons will look to bounce back from a 34-14 fall to the Dakota Indians as they begin Heart of Central Illinois Conference play with a short trip to Heyworth for Week 2 of the high school football season. Coach Ron Bass says it was simple mistakes from a handful of places last week that can be corrected going forward. He felt Cole Thomas was impressive as a sophomore in his first varsity starting opportunity.
I was proud of our kids' effort and their competitiveness. Every time, they'd come back as soon as Dakota would take a score, we'd score right back. And so I was pleased with that. I mean, really the game came down to a few defensive back breakdowns with coverage. I think that was probably the difference, and so they were able to capitalize on those mistakes. There were a couple balls that didn't fall our way, but that's going to happen from time to time. So overall, pleased, disappointed that we couldn't get a W. It's coming, or we're going to get one soon, and so we're going to keep plugging away. Oh, I thought he did great. For the first time, 1 year sophomore, and 2, you haven't repped it all off season, just in the past month. I thought he did fantastic. He did fantastic handling the pressure. We had some breakdowns up front where we're not stepping the right direction, offensive line wise, and so that allows run throughs. And other than the one mistake of throwing late across his body, he did really, really well. So we would like to complete a few more of those screen passes, execute a little bit better. I thought though that the game plan going in was good. It just came down to execution. We just didn't quite execute as well.
The Maroons worked on defensive back positioning after Dakota took advantage of the long pass to pull away in a game that was within 1 score going into the fourth quarter. Bass says this week the skill players should have more depth, which will help with cramping and fatigue issues.
Yeah, good. We're actually going to have a little bit more depth coming into the season. That was one area of concern, was the depth in our defensive backfield. Well, I think we might now have the most depth on the position group right now. We got 6 kids that will be kind of rotating through. We'll have Kale Mock, Marshawn Fitch will will be in the lineup this week, which will help us. And so that helps give some of those skilled kids a little bit of rest where we can rotate guys through. There was nothing new that we installed or anything like that. Just working on getting better at what we have in right now. So that's kind of our goal. But the good news was when I looked at things in film, there's just some easy correctable things, right? If you step the right direction on certain plays, there's not a run through. There's not somebody that's got a free shot on the ball carrier or the running back. And so, cleaning up those steps, that fixes a big chunk of the problem. It's not that you're physically getting beat because your opponent's just bigger, stronger, and better than you. It was more of hey, take the right step, and depending on what the play call is.
Clinton saw success with explosive plays, something they will attempt again against a large Heyworth squad. While it will be an uphill battle against the Hornets this week, Bass feels that takeaways can help them win the game as well.
Yeah, explosive plays are huge, right? The more explosive plays you have, or the more you can prevent explosive plays, the likelihood of your winning goes up. And so that's one of the things with this offense is having that ability to generate some explosive plays. We're starting to get some better players in the sense of being able to have those types of explosive plays. And right now they're young, but there's still some explosiveness there that we're trying to build on. Yeah, a little different trip, isn't it? 5 minutes as opposed to 3 hours. So, no, you're going to see a good Heyworth team. Looking at them in film, there's no reason why that team there at Heyworth isn't a playoff team. So they're going to be good. They got some good skill players. They got some decent size up front. Definitely larger than the players we saw last week at Dakota. So. We're going to have a challenge in front of us, but like I said, if we can generate some explosive plays and prevent some explosive plays, and we can win a turnover battle, I like our chances.
The Maroons will try for their first win of the season tonight against the Heyworth Hornets in Heyworth. Game time is 7 p.m. Hear the action on WHOW and all its digital platforms. In Heart of Central Illinois Conference matchups for tonight, Gibson City Melvin Sibley travels to Ridgeview Lexington, while Tri-Valley plays host to Leroy. Central A&M travels to Tremont, and Tuscola plays host to Shelbyville, while DMAC goes to Warrensburg Latham. All those games beginning at 7 p.m. A loss to Tolono Unity in the second round of the Class 3A high school football playoffs last year fueled Monticello this offseason. Tonight, the Sages can take a step in avenging last year's heartbreaking loss that saw a 2-point conversion fall short of giving them the upset. After a 26-6 win over the punchless Gray Ghosts of IVC, the Sages visit Tolono Unity for Week 2 of the high school football season. Monticello ran into minor injury issues throughout the first half, limiting Coach Coley Welter in his evaluation of his team coming into Week 2.
Yeah, I was pretty pleased with our production in the first half. I just thought it was an inconsistent performance overall, and that's what we talked about with the kids. We just need to be a little bit more consistent throughout. We outgained them we had well over 400 yards to their 80 yards, but the score was only 26-6. So we talked about the fact that we had some special teams miscues, that we had some turnovers. We got stuck in the red zone a couple times. So the score was not really indicative of the difference in the game, I thought, but we have to make sure that we take advantage of every opportunity we're given. I think that's probably part of the inconsistency as well, although sometimes it's been showing up in practice as well, so it's definitely something we have to fix. But yeah, I think it's hard to evaluate when you have, arguably I think we ended up with 5 seniors that had something that caused them to come out of the game at some point. So yeah, it makes it kind of tough to evaluate when you're not completely at full strength.
The Rockets handled Rantoul 30-8 last week. A running clock in the second half allowed the game to move quickly. Coach Welter says this is a typical Tolono Unity squad, big up front and disciplined on defense.
They graduated arguably their best class they've ever had. They had 37 seniors, which is an incredible number, but they're a team that always reloads, and they have plenty of talent coming back, and they always are very good at the lower levels, and that always translates when they get to varsity as well. So it's a very huge offensive line, a good running attack as usual, solid quick passing game, defensively, just solid, disciplined like usual. And I know they have a new defensive coordinator, but it looks pretty similar to what we've seen in years past. So, just a quality team as always. Yeah, I mean, they're going to hang their hat on the running game early as they get their quarterback adjusted, but he's capable. He's a very good runner himself. They did throw the ball downfield, but a little bit. But the first game, it was mostly like quick screens and shorter pass combinations. But they're going to have a solid passing game. But I do think, at least in the early part of the year, they're going to hang their hat on the run game. I would say probably up front, they're pretty active. They have a pretty solid linebacking core, and again, they're just very disciplined. They just don't make